Hello, this is Ruth Bruner. I'm here at the Fire Museum on 121 6th Street in Windsor, Colorado, and I'm here with our Firettes, and they're going to introduce themselves and we hope today to learn more about the Firettes, the women who supported the volunteer fire department in Windsor.
Right. And I'm Sue Buxman, and I joined the Firettes in 1968, and I was the last president of the organization.
I'm Carlene Schneider, member of the Firettes since 1962. That was the year Jerry and I got married. He joined at age 18.
Wow.
And then after we married, I joined the Firettes.
So what was it like, Carlene, as a newlywed to be a Firette? How did that impact your married life, your social life?
Well, our married life was wonderful as members of the community to be able to give to the community through the fire department. And as far as when I joined, I was welcomed with open arms. The ladies who were already part of this organization were happy to have new members, and it was just a welcoming, loving family that we were part of.
Where was the fire museum, the fire station in 1962 and then in 1968? Was it in the same location?
No, it was on the corner, 5th Street,
Across
close to where Dan has his,
Memory Lane's entrance.
yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah,
right
across
along
from
in
the
there,
old
that's
town
where it
hall.
was. It had a basement, and there was, I think actually, they had a fire truck, I believe, down there.
Tell me a little bit. I know that you guys were known as some of the best cooks in town, and some of the meals that you cooked for the firemen and the families and the different celebrations you had.
We had parties. We had the soup supper during Lent, and we always had oyster stew, which Irene Abbott always made, and she made the best. And we always had chili supper, chili and noodle soup and buttermilks. And we always had Halloween, and we had Christmas. Christmas, we always had ham, but you always had potlucks, and there was always very good food. I'm going to let Carlene tell you about the suppers that we made for the firemen when they had fires.
Well, you never knew when that time was going to come. When there was a fire, say nighttime, and of course those grocery stores weren't open at that time.
Yeah.
We opened our freezers. We went wherever we could find, if we didn't have something on hand at home, to make sandwiches. Most of the time, the girls had something in their freezer. We made sandwiches, cookies, pots of coffee, just anything that we could provide in the night, and especially at mealtime if the fellas were out a long time at a fire.
So what are some of the biggest fires that you remember your men fighting?
The first one that I can remember, Renee was only 6 years old when the middle school burned. And so at that time, I wasn't able to help much at that time. The other one would have been the Severance mill that burned. And we had company that evening that had come to visit to see the baby, Dick and Jerry Oxner. We looked out the window, and there was that huge fire.
And then the other one was the Severance elevator, and I mean, that was like full of beans, so it smoldered, a long time. Those guys spent a lot of time out there.
These were all volunteer firemen, which is hard for us today to imagine. What kind of sacrifices did you feel that your husbands made, or did you make as your family for the volunteer firemen?
A lot.
Huge. It was huge because
Holidays.
yes. Oh,
Yeah.
we played second fiddle to
Yeah.
to the phone calls in the beginning. We used to have phone calls. We didn't have all the technology that we have today. Jerry and Tom would have to call in to find out where the fire was.
Wow.
Big siren right up here went off, and then we had phones in the homes, and you called that number. Mary Ann, one of our fireettes, was one of the people that had a phone. So we called and she would give where and the directions to the fire. There were a lot of, I guess you'd call them sacrifices, but you know, it was all good. There were many birthday parties, many holiday dinners that were interrupted. But they always had their gear, their shoes, socks,
Their pants.
everything ready to go.
Right beside the bed
Yep.
at home?
Yep.
Tell me about, I know that there was the Northern Ladies guys and the competitions that the firemen went to. I would see them training for those in the 70s when I moved here.
We had a lot of fun doing that. We would train down at the park, and I mean, the kids loved it. The kids from all over town would come over and, you know, stand out there so they could get squirted when we squirted the ball off, and he'd stand right in the way. But we had a lot of fun. We would compete with the other towns.
So, of course.
Oh, and things that you did, you had Secret Sisters, the Fireette Gazette, monthly meeting hostess.
Let's see, the Secret Sisters, we would draw names, and then we would, during the year, we would celebrate with secret gifts for anniversary, birthday, and then we would have a party at Christmas, and we would reveal who our secret sister was.
How were the gifts delivered or dropped off? Or?
Well, they were brought to the meeting, and everybody was supposed to carry a paper bag into the meeting, so you didn't know if something was in the paper bag
Oh,
or
okay.
not. You were supposed to be fined a quarter if you didn't bring a paper bag.
Okay.
I don't know if we did that.
There were lots of fines, and there were lots of money for different things in 25 cents. Each month, a monthly meeting, they had to pay dues.
I do,
And if
yeah.
you missed your dues, you were fined. And I think if they cursed, they were fined also, but I don't know that for a fact.
So how many quarters did you put in there?
Oh, yeah, well, she did a lot.
Oh. So, tell us about the children that were the firebugs. I hadn't heard of that. That's
Yeah.
cute. And how a lot of them followed their fathers in the footsteps. Got trained time.
Firebugs were just small children, and they loved all the parties. And at Christmas time, we had a Santa Claus, and everybody snuck their gifts into the fire station, and then the Santa would come in with his big bag of toys and so forth. And the little firebugs loved that. All the kids loved it, for that matter. But the little firebugs were just some of the smaller kids that, yeah.
So, we found that you were in a lot of the Labor Day parades. And what kinds of things do you remember from the Labor Day parades?
Well, we did pretty elaborate floats, because we had some talented people,
Put on them.
and they would give you money, so we would get like $50 for
Yeah, if we
winning
won.
that win.
And what did you do with the quarters and the $50 and the little things that you collected? What were those funds used for?
We bought a lot of stuff for the fire station. We bought like the drapes or rugs or just things that,
Coffee pots.
things that needed, yeah.
Now, since the end of the official meeting of the Firettes in 2003, have you and the Firettes, other Firettes, kept in contact, or what have you done to replace that void of social fun?
We've kept in contact, I think, yeah. We had coffee for a while. We would meet like once a month and have coffee. And we've had our soup suppers once in a while. We get together and have our soup suppers.
Well, I just think because we're fortunate enough that so many of us are still here, that we crossed paths many times. And so we were a close-knit group. It's family. And even now, if there's something that comes up, we support one another.
Chris Kazian, Windsor Severance Fire Chief. So you guys talked a little bit about kind of playing second fiddle, I think is the word you used.
That's I did.
So
Did she
where was the
say
most,
that?
Where was the most unique place you were left behind?
Oh, gosh.
or most memorable time you were left behind at a wedding, at a christening, anything?
I remember one Easter when we had Easter dinner at our house, and he left like 4 or 5 times during the dinner.
4 or 5 times?
Yes.
You know, a lot of times up and out of church.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that was funny. Pastor Brokering was our preacher, and we had like 6 or 7 firemen that were in Bethel at that time. And then all their pagers went off at the same time. They all got up and left, and when the church was over, he met them outside and he said, we're meeting inside, I'm redoing this sermon.
So it wasn't very uncommon for you to be in the grocery store, the hardware store, anywhere. Somebody who was working in that store would get a call and have to leave right in the middle. So
Right.
quite a bit different than what we're used to today,
Very
right?
much so.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
And people in town understood, and if somebody was working and they knew they were a fireman, they knew they were gonna leave.
What do you think was the one most valuable thing that the Firettes provided to the community?
Just the support of the husbands. I think, you know, we were a family that knew when there was a crisis, a fire, medical. Of course, we didn't have the medical back then that we have today, but if there was that continued support from the Firettes. We always knew that was just part of our job, was to be supportive of our husbands and supportive of the community.
And was that almost a mandate that if your husband worked for the fire department, you were going to be a Firette, or was that a...
No, that was a choice. You
That was
could-
a choice, but
Yeah,
I don't think there were probably any firemen that their wives really didn't. We were a pretty good group.
So was there any questions I didn't ask you that you would love to speak about, or any final thoughts before we close the interview?
I hope that someday, and I wish for our young folks to have that same type of camaraderie that we did. You know, it's some of the very special times that we remember and our children remember. And you know, you asked about were there some of the sons that followed? Yes, they have. There are several that did. And I think a lot of that came from being that knit family and the camaraderie that we had and the respect that they had for the department and their dads.